I'm building a city. When does walking become not worth it? Is it when the weather's too cold? Or the sidewalks are made of lava? Or there's some youth who went to the gym and is stinking up the whole place right in front of you, so you choose to take a car instead of walking? Walkability is going to be a really important thing when I build my city. We know. I want people to walk not because they're forced to, but because they want to. So today I walked in two very different places and looked at what was most important when building walkable places. Markham, Ontario, the burb of which I live, and downtown Toronto with all its beauty and faults. First, let's talk about my walk through a Markham suburb to the GO station. First, of course, you have to start in a parking lot that doesn't connect to a sidewalk. So you have to walk through the parking lot all willy-nilly, playing Crossy Road, to get to the sidewalk. The sidewalks in Markham are nice though. They're wide enough. They're far enough away from the road. There's a lot of trees. It's very green, very quiet, safe, and peaceful. The problem is, because suburbs are built for cars, sometimes the sidewalks just stop willy-nilly. Though they are well maintained, no cracks, no obvious faults, that's probably because no one walks in Markham. Markham is a very peaceful place to walk. But if you're trying to explore and have an interesting walk, all you're gonna see is random commercial buildings with a giant parking lot and no people. I saw 3 total people in my entire walk, and only one of them smiled back at me. And there's all these businesses in Markham, but like the only way to get to these businesses is by cars. So even if people live in the suburbs on this side, there's no way for someone to actually cross the street and visit these places without a car, because there's no infrastructure to allow people to walk to these places instead of drive to them. So you're almost forced to. There's bike lanes, which I think they put in just now because they're realizing that it's incredibly expensive to subsidize everything for cars. But the problem is, why would anyone bike when everything is built for cars? In the bike lane, I didn't see a single bike. I actually saw 2 people walking in the bike lane because there was no sidewalk on the other side. Even though I've been walking and I'm getting my 10,000 steps today, I am not a walker. I am a bench sitter. In my entire walk, there was only one bench viewing the street. So not a great bench viewpoint, and again, not a great bench. Gates became my #1 most interesting piece of architecture. There were wood gates, broken gates, concrete gates. There was also this like pole that came out of the ground. Like, I don't know if it was a water pole. I just because I was so used to not seeing anything but trees and grass and cars, I just became infatuated with this pole. I asked this pole out, and then me and this pole, we went on a couple dates. And in terms of safety, Markham is like a small cloud. As long as you stay on the designated infrastructure, you'll be safe as being on a cloud. But even if you venture off a little bit to the edge, the wind will push you over, and then you'll get run over by a Tesla Cybertruck. But in terms of interests, it's like an oatmeal cookie. The walk there, if you like trees or sidewalks, it is quite wonderful, but it's just not interesting enough that you want to explore. Say, for example, it becomes a little less safe, like it's cold outside. My ass is not eating that oatmeal cookie, and therefore not walking. So as I finished my walk, it turns out I was late for the train. And for some reason, the sidewalk turned into a road, and I had to start running to get to the GO. To get to my next destination, Baldwin Village. I started my stroll 30 minutes away from my destination in the place where the bald are winners. Baldwin. This is not going to be a video where I glaze the walkable place and shit on the unwalkable place. Because, you know, that's my hometown. I got to ride out, you know what I'm saying? But downtown Toronto is much more walkable. I'm not saying it doesn't have its faults. Half the sidewalks are slip and fall lawsuits. There's mopeds in the bike lanes. There's vomit in all the corners. Like, usually there's this thing I do called garbage of the day, where I pick up one piece of garbage and put it in the trash as my rent for living on Earth. But in downtown Toronto, all the garbage on the street is so nasty that I'm kind of scared I'm gonna contract something by touching any of it. Sometimes there's poles in the middle of the sidewalk in your walk. There's also construction everywhere, but that's not always a bad thing. It just means the place is improving. The thing is though, even though with all its faults, downtown is just too interesting. There seems like there's endless places to explore, tons of places to sit for lazy people like me. So many colors, so many textures, so much art. It's hard to focus on the negatives when there's so much beauty. There's multiple paths to get to places that isn't really available in the suburbs unless you want to take a massive detour and walk 15 more minutes the other way. The sidewalks are very varied. There's some really good sidewalks, stone sidewalks, you know what I'm saying? But then there's shitty thin ones. And sometimes there's not even a sidewalk. They just paint some lines on the road and tell you to go around. It's hard not to feel social and feel like you're part of the community when you're in a bustling atmosphere like that. And the eavesdropping potential in cities is just sky high. And that makes it more walkable for me because not only is it visually stimulating, it's auditorily stimulating. She did what? He did what? She did what to who to where to why to when to how? Though it is not as safe as to walk in downtown as Markham, downtown is more walkable, which sounds like contrasting opinions. So why is that? I wonder. So in terms of interest, it's like an ant being in a pantry. And in terms of safety, it's like, buddy, I'm walking here. What in the gabagoo? So when is walking not worth it? Walking is not worth it when it doesn't account for these three factors in a balanced fashion. These are not in any specific order. I think it definitely depends based on who you are and what you value. But these three things determine walkability for most people. Interest. Are there cool lampposts, places to socialize, colors, texture, fun architecture, diverse people? Are there places that make you feel like you're part of a community? Next, safety. Is there lighting at night? Is there proper infrastructure like good sidewalks? Is there insurance for weather? So if it's cold outside or slippery or rainy, you're not just gonna fall and break every single bone in your body. Is it a place that gets you consistently where you need to go, but also makes you feel safe in getting to that place? And finally, distance. Distance, of course, is important because no one's going to walk 15 kilometers and then pretend that place is a walkable place. I think distance increases with interest because people like taking the scenic route. It also increases with safety because people like feeling safe. So what's the formula for all the math heads out there? Walking probability increases when the interest for the environment is high, safety measures in the place are high, and the distance is low. I believe these three factors contribute the most to when people choose to walk or run or skip or bike over the means of choosing a car. The best thing about downtown actually was that you didn't need to walk. Everything was close by: food, family, friends, work, play. And if you needed to get somewhere, public transport was frequent and usually reliable. Walkable places allow you to value your time, and that's what I believe is truly what makes them desirable. Cars can also grant this luxury, but the problem is when you're not using a car, you have to store it someplace. And so they are very terrible for optimizing space, especially in places of high density where space is limited and valuable. Cars just become a nuisance more than an aid to society. Caveats. This is an isolated experience. There are some areas in Markham that are more walkable, but a vast majority of them are much, much, much less walkable. Like from my house, it's like 50 minutes to the GO station. Even with the bus, because it takes 40 minutes for the bus to arrive, because that's how unregular the schedule is. And vice versa with downtown. It's not about a war on cars. I love my car. It's about building a place for humans to have the ability to grow safely that doesn't destroy the whole world in the process. And that's what I want for my city. I mean, that's what I want for our city. See what I did there? Like, I'm tying your identity to my dream so you also care about it. Manipulation 101. 101. One of the greatest numbers in the world. If you know, you know. So when is walking not worth it? Walking isn't worth it when the interest for the place, the safety of the place, and the distance of the place aren't equally balanced. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. And obviously, what I'm gonna steal from this experiment for our city is my dear, sweet water pipe. And 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1. Okay. This is not gonna be a video.